to order at 7 o'clock p.m. Lisa, would you take roll call, please?
Mrs. Campbell?
She's not here today.
Mrs. Cloutier? Here. Mrs. Franklin? Here. Mr. Newby?
Oh, she should be here. No, she's not here.
Mr. Heitzman?
He'll be absent.
Mrs. Kelleher?
Here.
Mrs. Russ?
Here.
Mr. Schuman?
Here.
Mr. Zabrowski?
Here.
Dr. Macri?
Here.
Mrs. Arnesta? Here. Mr. Berry? Mr. Rosano?
Here.
Mrs. Bennington? Here. Mr. Butler?
Here.
Ms. Colchola? Here. Mrs. DeMaro?
She's on her way. She's probably walking in the door.
Mrs. DeTuno? Here. Mr. Cuppel?
Here.
Mr. LeMay?
Here.
Dr. McLean? Mrs. Prestash? Here. Ms. Middlebrook? Here. Mrs. O'Leary? Ms. Shepherd? Ms. Tama? Mrs. Weisfeld? Summer?
Here.
Marcel?
Here.
Anaya?
Dania.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Luke? And Brian?
Thank you, Lisa. And from here, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda, additions and deletions. I do have one addition, and I'd like to amend the agenda to include item J, which is an action item for CNR projects approval. With that, is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended? By Kelly Franklin, second by Alan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. The agenda is approved. Correspondence, Dr. Macri. I feel like my mic isn't on. Can you hear me? Okay. Just quieter than normal. Dr. Macri, do you have correspondence you'd like to share?
Yes, we have a few pieces of correspondence, but I will talk about two of them later in the agenda, but one I'll talk about now quickly. We participate in Warm the Children as a district, and Warm the Children helps the greater area of Middlesex and during the holidays. And it's Middletown, Region 13, Durham, Middlefield, East Hampton, Portland, and Cromwell. And we were able to service and help families in need through the age of 12. And we raised 587,000. Yeah, I wish 87. Because you see what I've been doing is budget. $587 that we could donate towards this, and our students did benefit from it. And we received a letter. I can pass it around.
And will we include? Do you want to include this in the minutes too? Do you have a
Yes.
copy digitally?
Yes.
There you go. And that was all?
That's it.
Okay. We'll save the rest. Okay, public comments. Before I read the rules for public comment, I do want to mention I did receive one through email, which I circulated to the board and also shared with the district for inclusion in the minutes, and that was from Shannon Hughes related to the band program in support of adding a marching band. Is there anyone here who would like to make a public comment? All right, I'm just going to read the rules briefly before you begin. Individuals are welcome to address the Board of Education for up to 3 minutes each during the public comment portion of the meeting, but board members will not generally engage in dialogue. The board chair may, at his or her discretion, extend the time for public comments. You must come to the podium and share your name and address. And we encourage you to share any comments you may have about instruction, discipline, or learning materials, first with your student's teacher, principal, and followed by the superintendent before bringing it to the Board of Education. All comments must not include personal attacks, cannot be discourteous, threatening, vulgar, or otherwise inappropriate. The board chairperson may, at his or her discretion, curtail any public comments or terminate any individual's privilege of address at any time. The Board of Education values the well-being of our students and families, and we are strongly discouraging you from sharing identifiable information of your children in such comments. You get the gist of it. You've been here before, so I'm just kind of giving the highlights. And Sheriff, if you'd like to state your name and address, you can begin.
Okay, perfect. Is this light means on, right?
Light means on, yep.
Okay, perfect. So good evening, members of the board and everyone here tonight. My name is Matt Brown. I live at 7 Court Place. And I'm here to talk about something that truly changed my life, and it was being part of a high school marching band. I was lucky enough to be in marching band during high school and college, and I'm here to share why I believe our students deserve the same opportunity. Marching band isn't just about music. It's about building life skills that go far beyond the field. When I joined my high school band, I didn't just learn to play better. I learned teamwork, discipline, time management, and how to work towards a common goal with others. Those early experiences helped me succeed in college and beyond. In fact, marching band taught me more about leadership and resilience than almost anything else I've done as a student. Studies back this up. According to research from the National Association of Music Education, students involved in music programs score higher on standardized tests, perform better in math and reading, and are more likely to graduate. A study from the Arts Education Partnership even found that music students are more likely to attend college, and these programs don't just create musicians, they create well-rounded, successful individuals. Beyond academics, marching band gives students a sense of belonging. It's a place for kids to find their people, their confidence, and their voice. And for some, it's the reason they stay engaged in school. Band creates a unique camaraderie where everyone contributes and everyone has a role. I've seen shy freshmen grow into confident leaders and friendships form that last a lifetime. And like some of my best friends today are from my college marching band days. A marching band can also bring pride and spirit to our school and community. Think of Friday night football games with band pumping up the crowd, parades where students represent the town, and even competitions where we show off our talent. It's an incredible way to bring people together and put our school on the map in a positive way. I believe that starting a marching band at Cromwell High School would be a powerful addition to our school's offering. It's an investment in our students' future and in the cultural heartbeat of this town. I hope you'll consider the opportunity to create something with the benefit of our students, our school, and our entire community for years to come. Thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, let me know.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. And it is
Thank you.
later on the agenda, so you'll want to stick around.
Oh, yeah.
There's presentation. Any other public comments? Going once, going twice? Okay, we'll move on to celebrating our faculty and staff. Dr. Macri, are
Okay.
you going to introduce this?
Sure, I'd like to invite Mrs. Bingington up. This evening we're celebrating WIS.
Good evening. Could I invite Annabelle Fortin to join me at the podium? So sorry. Tonight, I would like to honor Annabelle Fortin. Annabelle is a student in Mrs. Buck's 5th grade classroom. She is best known for her kindness, intellect, outgoing personality, and contagious smile. In her free time, Annabelle is an accomplished level 6 gymnast with the American Gymnastics Training Center. Her favorite event is the balance beam. This past fall, Annabelle was elected Woodside Intermediate School's Kid Governor by her peers. For those of you who are not familiar with the Kid Governor program, it is a curriculum created to get students excited about civics. The Kid Governor program teaches 5th graders about the 3 branches of government, the election process, and encourages students to take a stand on issues that are important to them. Every 5th grader is encouraged to choose an issue that is currently impacting their community, create a platform around the issue, make a video that both advocates for the importance of their issue and discloses a plan that the student has for supporting the issue, and run for Kid Governor of their school. Annabelle's platform was around supporting students who struggle with anxiety. Did you know that over 10% of all school-age students have been diagnosed with anxiety? Annabelle wanted to help her peers who suffer from anxiety by implementing a 3-step plan that would allow students to bring their struggles to the attention of a trusted adult. Her plan included a school-wide survey administered to all students, creating, sharing, and utilizing a Google Doc that would be completed by students and shared directly with WIS's school social worker and school psychologist, and creating an anxiety anchor chart that would be displayed in all classrooms. We are so proud of Annabelle for her hard work and sensitivity to a subject that is impacting so many of our students. At this time, I would like to share Annabelle's Kid Governor video.
Hi, my name is Anthony, and I want to be Connecticut's next Kid Governor because I think I can help solve one of our community issues. Have you ever felt easily distracted, sweaty palms, nervousness, feeling overwhelmed, even stomach aches? These are all feelings I have felt before, and I'm sure you have too. These are all common symptoms of anxiety. I want to help students who struggle with anxiety because it takes time away from learning for students. Did you know that right now, 10.1% of children ages 3 to 17 struggle with anxiety here in Connecticut? Anxiety is the world's most common mental health disorder. Anxiety affects 40 million people in the United States alone. I will help solve this issue. Awesome three-step plan. Step 1. I will clear apartment schools of positive statements. At the beginning of every year, students say that all 10 friends. Students will fill out a sheet and want to be friends anywhere at home or at school. To say that all stuff into adults at school, so they know they can talk anything that is fun. Sometimes talking about things that are bothering makes the problems not seem so bad. Step 2. Each kid will have a Google Doc. They can just type out what's bothering them, in case they don't want to share with anyone. Sometimes it's hard to talk with these feelings, and having a safe place to write your feelings down can be helpful. Social workers in the school can read these Google Docs, decide if there is something more they can do to help the student. Step 3. Every child will have an anxiety anchor chart, and it'll have all different ways to take deep breaths. Deep breathing can help calm your brain when you are feeling anxious. These charts will be on or in students' desks so they can see them anytime. The chart will show different breathing strategies, such as finger breathing, still breathing, and more. I'm kind, responsible, hardworking, and a good leader. Together with my family, we can make a difference in helping students overcome anxiety.
Does anyone have any questions for Annabelle?
What a great video, first of all. I just want to commend you. You're so well spoken. You didn't look nervous in front of the camera or anything. I love the walk up at the end and everyone's clapping for you. Really good job. I love all the research you put into it. Does anyone have any questions for Annabelle? Really good job. No?
Can we get those breathing exercises?
I know. I think I was trying to do some of them as I was watching them. So, what were some of them? The circle breathing, star. There were a bunch of them on the anchor chart. What's your favorite one?
I like the rainbow breathing,
You like the rainbow?
where it's like you trace your finger over rainbow and take a deep breath.
Nice. Did you learn a lot from this?
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Anything you want to add?
I just would like to thank Annabelle. As we know, our mental health and well-being is so important to our everyday lives, and we do struggle as adults, and children do struggle. And Annabelle, I'm so proud of you that at this young age you're helping bring attention to your classmates, because it's so incredibly important. When I was a kid, I think I did all those things, but nobody really knew what they were. And my parents really didn't know how to help me, except for telling me to go outside and run around the block 25 times. But it's a really serious issue. And so I hope that as you grow older, you continue to have this passion. And maybe you and I can work together when I retire, because I'd like to run for a legislative position that talks about social emotional well-being and mental health. So I'm going to see you someday. Okay? All right, Annabelle, nice job.
Let's give her one more round of applause.
Testing. Everything's plugged in, Steve. Testing. How many more meetings? There it goes. Before we have a new middle school where we can actually. Thanks, Steve. That's it. You got it.
Okay, and are we celebrating some staff this evening as well?
Tonight we would like to celebrate some staff members at Woodside as well. Tonight we'll be acknowledging Samantha Gassman and Silvana Pandolf, who are the administrative assistants at Woodside. Neither were able to be in attendance tonight due to obligations that they could not rearrange, but are very appreciative of this acknowledgement and really did want me to let you know that they really did want to be here. Where do I begin with these two amazing women? Most families' interactions with their child's school involve the school administrative assistants. School administrative assistants answer phones, calm nervous parents, schedule meetings, collect and clarify information, deliver forgotten items, and, in general, do it all. The families, students, and staff affiliated with Woodside Intermediate School are quite fortunate to have such incredible individuals like Samantha Gassman and Silvana Pandolf to be helping them. While the students, families, and staff are lucky, I can't find words to describe how much gratitude I have for Samantha and Silvana. As I spent time thinking of all they do, I couldn't help but think back over the many years we spent together during my time as the assistant principal at Woodside. I was fortunate to be on the hiring committees for both Silvana and Samantha. Both were standout candidates right from the start. During Samantha's interview, I remember her as an individual who demonstrated confidence, strength in her convictions, and an innate ability to get things done. Not only has Samantha exceeded my expectations, but she has also shown herself to be a multitasker extreme, a project manager, and most importantly, the kind of person who is dedicated to getting the job done to the very best of her ability. Silvana's interview was different. She was quiet and reserved, undersold her abilities and her accomplishments, and may have even told us it would probably be better if we hired someone else. Still, Mr. Butwell and I knew Silvana would be the right person for the job. In the years that Silvana has worked as an administrative assistant at Woodside, she has shown herself to be highly accomplished with technology, though she would never admit it. The perfect balance of kindness and accountable, and as well as highly organized. We could not have hired two more different individuals, but it is their differences that make them the standout team that they are. They complement one another in ways we could not have anticipated and are truly the heart and soul of Woodside Intermediate School. As I considered my return to WIS last spring and early summer, I was certainly anxious. How would I ever fill Mr. Butwell's shoes? Would I be able to accomplish all of the summer tasks? How would I know if I was doing things right? Then I remembered that I would once again have the unique and distinct pleasure of working with Samantha and Silvana. All of my worries melted away. Their knowledge of recent historical practices and commitment to ensuring that WIS functions at its best every day, in every way, continue to be the driving force of Woodside. Were it not for these two ladies, I am not quite sure how we would have even opened the doors this past fall. Every day that I come to work at Woodside, I am beyond grateful to be a member of their team. Thank you, Samantha and Silvana, for everything you do.
Thank you so much for highlighting them. I mean, people don't really realize how much the administrative assistants do, but they basically, sort of, no offense, but run the school in a way.
They absolutely do.
They're there for emergencies. They're talking to the students, the parents, everything. And I can't imagine juggling all of that, scheduling, people calling out sick, finding everything that they do. So I'm glad we have such a great team at WIS.
Me too.
Want to make any comments?
So as a teacher, I could never have imagined my life without being able to go to someone who had all the answers in a school. And as a principal, I could never do my job without the administrative assistants. So exactly what Ms. Bingington just said. As a superintendent, these two highly capable individuals who are so giving of themselves and truly care about the kids, they're just incredible. They truly could not be here tonight. One person in particular, everyone knows Silvana is my sister. So as a sister, I could tell you, she doesn't like the limelight. She's probably listening and wants to choke me right now. And so when Miss Bingington asked if she could highlight her, I said, absolutely, for two reasons. One, she undersells herself, and two, I love to embarrass her. And Sam is just incredible. And that school runs like an incredible, it's just such a tight ship. They know what they're doing all the time. And they were the school that passed with flying colors the security challenge of making sure that everybody there was, and it's a high bar, because they are just so cognizant of everything that they do. So I'm incredibly happy that Ms. Bingington asked me if it was okay if she brought them forward, because in all of our schools we have incredible administrative assistants, and without them, truly, we'd be in trouble, including myself and my wonderful administrative assistant who's here this evening. So we're all really lucky. So thanks, Ms. Bingington, and thanks to Samantha and Silvana.
Thank you.
All right, from here.
Oh, and yeah, she was hired before I was, just in case anyone heard that.
All right, moving on to reports of liaisons from the Town Council, Board of Finance, and the CMS Building Committee. I don't believe there is anyone here from those committees, so I have nothing to report there. And we'll move on to report of student representatives. And who wants to start? Should we start with the middle school this time? You want to start?
Students are working hard as the second marking period will draw to a close on January 24th. Students will celebrate kindness in January with SOAR lessons and a prep rally. Tomorrow, students will participate in a SOAR lesson, highlighting the character traits that help students to soar. The Student Council has begun collecting used sneakers for recycling. Yearbook Club is working hard as deadlines approach. Though progress has been slow due to the holidays, portraits have finally arrived, and they are focused on taking additional photos. If anyone has pictures they think could be included in the yearbook, please email Mrs. Asterowitz. The band is under the direction of Mrs. Sales and hosted a successful concert on Wednesday, January 8th. The chorus will host the winter concert tomorrow, Wednesday, January 15th. Students are continuing to grow. Students are continuing to build their skill sets in performing, responding, and improvising in the style of swing. February 5th is fast approaching, and we can't wait to showcase students.
Select Choir has been meeting every Wednesday with Miss Camilleri to rehearse their selections, which will be performed this concert in concert this February. Drama Club. This year, the CMS Drama Club is producing the musical Into the Woods Jr. by Stefan Sondheim. There are almost 50 cast members and early 20 crew members embarking on this artistic journey this year. Students will focus on professionalism, kindness, compassion, artistic leadership, theater-specific vocabulary, and theater standards, all while learning their lines, lyrics, blocking, and choreography. Robotics Club. Under the guidance of Mr. Mateus, continues to meet regularly to problem-solve, design, test, and redesign. Unity Club, under the guidance of Mr. St. Ange, plans to travel to ECS to read stories with multicultural themes to our youngest learners. World Language Club. World Language Club held off a cultural cook-off at the end of December. During the cultural cook-off, students picked a meal that originates from a different country around the world. They try to cook that meal at home and bring it for everyone at the World Language Club to enjoy. Students made amazing and delicious meals. The World Language Club is excited about the new year and the celebrations coming up. Our club has begun painting murals in the hallway walls of CMS during the direction of Mr. Glowa. Sports. Basketball. Girls. The girls' basketball team has a winning record of 4-3, led by Maya Lamberson, Sydney Theobald, Rebecca Arnold, and Addison Hickey. Boys. The boys are looking to even their record at 4-4 tomorrow with a win against Colchester. The team recently enjoyed comeback victories against East Hampton and Rocky Hill.
Thank you both so much. Any questions for our middle school representatives? No, there's a lot of information. Appreciate you sharing it. Looking forward to the musical. And we'll move on to the high school. Summer, would you like to start? We don't know.
It was on it.
None of them sound on tonight, but if the light's on, it's on.
Okay. Students have just returned from winter break on January 2nd and are bringing in the new year and getting right back to work. The Drama Club has been working hard on The Addams Family to perform in the spring. Assessment week is coming up very soon, beginning January 21st. Students will have 2 exams a day with lots of time after to go home and study for their upcoming exams, as the second exam will end at 12 o'clock. Good luck to every student. And CHS has been hosting career pathway speakers in which students have the opportunity to hear from real representatives from many different occupations to provide insight on future goals for the students. Today we had guests from Carey Manufacturing, and on the 16th there will be ER nurses and representatives from D-Tech Services.
Cromwell winter sports are currently continuing to run smoothly. Boys and girls basketball season has been performing well, with the boys' record being 5-2, and their next game will be on the 15th at SMSA High School. The girls' basketball team's record is 4-6, and they play Coggin Chog on the 17th. Huge congratulations to the track and field team, with multiple school records broken over the weekend from Nazir Andrade and Dylan Bathrick. The track team's next meet is on Wednesday at CCSU. Boys wrestling season has been successful. Matt Gish had his 100th career win over the weekend, and their next meet is on Saturday. And boys ice hockey's next game is on the 15th against Wilton.
Thank you very much. Congratulations to all of our athletes. Any questions? No? All right. Thank you so much. All right. And from here, we'll go on to town collaboration updates. I have nothing new to report. Do you, Dr. Macri, on collaboration? Okay. Superintendent's updates and responses to Board of Ed comments and action items from our prior meeting.
Okay, we've been doing a lot, and we've only been back for about, 12 days, getting prepared for our budget, working with all of our directors and our administrators, Mr. Butwell and myself and the team. We've been crunching numbers and getting ready so that we can do the presentation for you on January 28th, which is our next meeting. There are so many things changing at the state level. Mr. Butt will get into that during the budget part of it. It's constantly a moving target, more now than ever. So we're going to do our best with giving you a good number to start with in 2 weeks, but we anticipate changes. We also, Claudio, myself, and Ann, Ms. Cochiola, took a walk through CMS, the new CMS building, to make sure we were really planning for the correct FF&E, which is furniture, fixtures, and equipment. And we took some more measurements because the classrooms are slightly smaller. So we wanted to just see for ourselves. So we did that, and we've had to make some adjustments there, which will most likely be in your next update from that committee. It probably isn't in this one. It'll be in the next one. Also, I'm going to have Ms. DeMoro, come up and explain to you Connecticut Paid Sick Leave Act and let you know how it is impacting all school systems, particularly ours, of course. She's going to tell you what it is and how it affects us.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So on January 1st, there was a new law that was passed. It's the Connecticut Paid Sick Leave Law. It has been in the news. It's been in the media. Basically, this new law basically expands the already Connecticut Paid Leave Law that was already in effect. This law actually basically says school districts are now considered covered employers, where last year's law, we were not covered in it. So basically, I'm just going to review some of the things about, obviously, we are an employer that's covered, how the sick days can be used, and reasons it can be used. And there's compliance involved in it. And what that means is we have to keep documentation. So what the law basically says is effective January 1st, we have to let employees earn 1 hour for every 30 hours worked. And so this is any employee. It could be a lunch recess aide, it could be a daily sub, and many of our contracted employees that are in unions already get more than what the law is initiating, however, or stating that we have to do. However, what the law says is effective January 1st, we have to allow them to accrue it. So we had two choices. We could allow the system to automatically accrue, and unfortunately we don't have a system that can do that. It has to be done manually, or we can front load it. So we chose as a district, after going to a seminar by our legal counsel, and many school districts in the state of Connecticut attended this seminar, we chose to upfront the time. And what we had to do is anticipate what people would actually work from January 1st all the way to the last day of school. And we front loaded that time into their sick bank. This time could be used for any reason for sick time. It also can be used for a mental health day. One of the things that I think that it's detrimental for school districts is there's no need for a notice. So what that means is if they just want to, on a Friday before a school holiday or school vacation, which already in the contract, many of the contracts we say you can't use a personal day, or you shouldn't be out, they could just take that time and not give us notice. They're going to put it in our absence management system. However, the way the system, this new law is being rolled out, is we can't question why they're taking the time. They can just take the time, and they can take the 40 hours consecutive if they choose. So there's a lot of rules regarding what they can and can't do. We just recently had a presentation that was given to our administration so we can follow how this law will be for this year. I believe there's many school districts that Board of Ed members, superintendents, HR directors, directors of finance, that are asking legislators to change this law. It's not really meant for school districts because school districts already give many of their employees ample amount of sick time, personal time, and the 12-month positions also get vacation time. So we're hoping this law will potentially change, but in the meantime, we're doing the best that we can to try to work with all of our employees that have the ability to take this time. Now, please understand, this will also increase our usage of our daily subs and our building subs, so it does have an impact on our bottom line.
So quickly, I just want to thank Michelle and Lori Rosano, who worked tirelessly and did everything by hand in the system, because we have a system that doesn't do this, over the holidays to get us up and going. And of course, we want our staff to always be able to take the time that they need. Michelle did a nice job explaining that as educators, for the most part, not everyone, but most of us do have that time. However, because the law and when it started, we had to front load time. So we may see an impact on our budget this year, which we did not anticipate, but thank goodness right now, scared to even say it, but we're in a good place. Also, I can let Selena can speak for herself. She's been receiving emails regarding this issue from other board chairs, and Ellington particularly has taken it upon themselves, and others are in the process of, and if you would like to consider it, writing a letter to legislators to let them know the impact that this is going to have on students in schools. It's not that we don't want people to be able to take this time. The problem is that we know the number one reason why students perform well in school is because their teachers are here. So when we have more absentees, there's a greater chance of students with IEPs not being covered, or the building's not getting cleaned, or whatever it shall be. And it makes it difficult for everyone. So this is something that other boards of eds have taken into consideration and are writing letters to their legislators to explain why this really can harm school systems and students. So if Selena wants to share that with you, it's up to you as to whether or not you'd like to take that stance.
I do have a copy of a letter that was sent from Ellington that I can share with you all, and we can see if we want to do something similar, maybe join with other districts and do it collaboratively. But I think it's worthwhile. I'm so confused how this is possible that you could just say, I'm going to be an hour late with no notice. Is that how I'm understanding it?
Use the frontline system, and they're going to put it in there that they're going to be an hour late, or I have to say the majority of our employees, like, I always like to be positive. I don't, they won't abuse it. We've talked to many of the unions about this. I don't see there being abuse. It's just more time, and it's more work, and obviously, and it does give the people the ability to be out more. We just had a wonderful presentation about mental health, right? And we talked about mental health. But that mental health day can be taken anywhere, right? And who are we to say if you're taking a mental health day in Florida, we have no way to determine if it's really a mental health day. So that's basically what we were hearing in this presentation that we were going to. I mean, basically, it's very hard to question someone if they're in Florida. They could say, I'm attending a spa, or I'm attending this because I really need this day. So there is an impact, as Dr. Macri said, to the learning and the education in our school district. I believe our contracts do give ample time to all of our employees. And I would like to possibly see, and many HR directors in the state of Connecticut and directors of finance are coming together with CASPA and CASBO, and we are writing legislators ourselves in regards to, we would like to see this law basically allow school districts to use our collective bargaining agreements, because we do give ample time. We don't feel that this law is something that was meant for education. And many of our legal counsel also felt the same way. So it took us till the early December to even get guidance from legal counsel about what to do for January 1st. So we basically had to scramble because we were going back and forth. Does this pertain to school districts? Does it not pertain to school districts?
What else did it pertain to? I'm trying to imagine a position where that would fly anywhere. I mean,
I would think the private sector. So the private sector. So many companies that probably wouldn't give maybe sick time to employees.
And this is in addition to what we already have in the contract.
Just for January to June. Mm-hmm. And then effective July 1st, what will happen? It's going to roll out a little different, and we're going to have to figure out if our frontline system can do this. Your first 40 hours will have to be taken hourly. So many teachers in many school districts, usually their time is either half day or full day. And we are like that also. So what it's basically telling us is we have to allow them to take their first 40 hours hourly. Well, the system doesn't allow to do both.
So you're saying if they needed a half day, they have to first expend all the 1 hour, the 41 hour. That doesn't make any sense.
So
I must be misunderstanding.
I have a couple of questions. Well, okay, I'm hoping this works, but didn't we just change all our contracts so that they are on the half day and not the quarter and the craziness that we had?
Correct.
This is going to it could potentially, I'll say, thinking for the benefit of everyone using it respectfully, put a huge strain on our finances and our resources, because we feel like we're just starting to come out of that hole of COVID where we didn't have enough people for subs and teachers and everything else, and now this is going to put us right back to where we were.
That's correct, because many times a sub doesn't want to come in for an hour.
No, they don't.
No.
They want a day or half a day at least, at a minimum. So nobody's going to come in.
So if the school
we're going to
can't
start
cover it,
pulling all the safety, all the precautions we put in so that a teacher doesn't get pulled out of a classroom for an hour is now going to go out the window, because they could be potentially helping to cover another classroom or all those kinds of or a para can potentially, or special ed teacher could be potentially covering a classroom instead of doing what their current situation is. And would we be able to, will they allow us to go back, and would this mean we have to amend all of our contracts? I mean, that's a significant amount of work for us. This is just a massive, I completely disagree with this being put in school districts, because we do give ample time.
I think you're better off, I think, as a board, and like Selena said, banding together either with Middlesex Consortium, HASA, whoever, or on your own, and writing a letter to the legislator, because going back and doing MOAs and that, what's the incentive in a way? And our staff is amazing, but at the end of the day, that is highly unlikely that we will get. We'll be spending more money on attorneys trying to get that done. So I think the best thing would be to do what Ellington did, and perhaps not as word for word, but writing to our legislators and saying, hey, listen, this is not something that should be happening in schools, and this is 100 reasons why this is not good for kids.
Right, and I have to say we were actually ahead of the game in this situation, because we already agreed in our teachers' contract to give them 3 1-hour sick day, three times to use a 1 hour sick time, and 3 times to use a 1 hour personal time. Because we do understand there's going to be situations where they do have to go to a doctor's appointment, or they, here and there, and we value our staff, so we do understand that. We want to work with our staff. I personally think this is a little too much, and I think many people in the state of Connecticut feel that this is a little too much, and it's a big burden on school districts.
Is there limits to the accrual? How much they can accrue?
40 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're only accruing this year. So when I say this year, they're only accruing from January 1st to the last student, to June 30th, because some employees work till June 30th. And then July 1st, They don't accrue anymore because we front load and we give more than 40 hours to many of our employees. And even our building subs are non-certified staff, staff that are not in unions, like our building subs, our lunch recess aides, our tutors. We've implemented sick time a long time ago. So we're already ahead of the game. And we started implementing that because there is another law under the Department of Labor, which the Connecticut Department of Labor, that says after so many hours you have to give sick time. So we already started doing that, and it's really the right thing to do. So I feel like we're so ahead of the game where this kind of puts us at a whole nother level. So I think for July 1st, I think we're going to be in a better situation, though we might have to talk to some of the unions about possibly moving from days to hours. But there's a lot of work to do because the system we use is not able to do both. So we're going to have to make a choice.
This is 40 hours and it doesn't accrue from year to year.
No.
Which encourages teachers to use it or lose it. It's not necessarily a good thing. Go ahead, Alicia.
So I've been following this very closely, Michelle, and I sympathize because it is not easy to manage. One of the issues that we were concerned about when this first rolled out is you have to give 40 hours to, well, you're doing it up front. People end up leaving after a few months. It's not the right job for them. They've got basically 5 days. You can't do anything about it. They can take the 5 days. You can't question. So that has significant budget implications. I just wondered, and I also worry about our schools pre-holiday because it's a free day. If you want to take an extra long weekend and you have no control and you can't question. So we could end up with a pretty significant staffing shortage pre-holidays, which is really concerning. Wondered if you've seen issues in the first couple of weeks. Are people aware of it? Are they taking it? What's been your experience so far?
People are definitely taking it. I mean, we can see the news right now. It was just the news, Yale Hospital. They're mandating masks. I mean, just the amount of people out sick right now. I think people are using it for sick time right now, for true being sick, because we can see what's out there right now. There's so many different viruses going on. So I think I've seen that. Do I think people are taking mental health days? I have no way of knowing right now, right? Possibly, right? But yes, there's definitely usage. I think the first couple days, people were like iffy about it, and now people, because we had to send correspondence out. We had to send, by law, we were required to send correspondence out in English and Spanish, to everyone, and the guidelines. And then I also had to figure out how to make it work. So then I had to send out procedures. So there was a lot of time working with employees about what do I use it for, how do I use it. It's supposed to be used in 1 hour increments. My contract says that I could use it, down to 15 minutes. Well, this Connecticut paid sick leave law is a little different because it's a gift. You're kind of getting a gift from January to June, so it has to be used hourly. And then July 1st, we're just going to let them go by their collective bargaining agreement, and whatever their collective bargaining agreement is, we're going to let them do that. But the lowest increment is an hour. The district could choose to give them a better benefit than that if they choose.
Sorry.
One more follow-up. Did you say we're getting an extra 40 hours from January to June? We can't take that out of their accruals?
We front load everyone's time in the beginning of the school year. So some places, some school districts, well, I say, I can't speak for everyone. Some school districts front load. Some districts, depending on your collective bargaining agreement, you accrue month to month. We front load. So September 1st, you get your time in your bank and you use it. What the law states is January 1st, you have to accrue for every 30 hours you work effective January 1st. What we were told by legal counsel is you have to now let them accrue the time again. So we can't go look at your time in the frontline sick time balance and say, oh, you used all of your time, so you're going to get it. And then we can't go to Catherine and say, well, Catherine still has her time, so we're not going to give it to her, because you'd have a grievance. Everybody, you have to treat everyone fairly, so you have to give it to everyone.
So it's an additional 40 hours everyone's getting.
Well, yeah, it comes out to like it's not 40 hours from January to June, but it's almost.
What the budget implication is there? That's kind of scary.
If they take it, though.
Well, who wouldn't? You're going to lose it if you don't take it. I imagine most people would take it.
The only saving grace is that all of us as educators, we're all here because we truly want to be with our kids. And two, for most of us, administration, paras, teachers particularly, which is our greatest, if you're not sick, it's a pain in the neck to do lesson plans, and you might as well just come to work. And then that is our hope. We have excellent people who work with us, and have we set some money aside as a basic idea of what we think we might spend? Yes, and we're in okay shape this year, thank God. But it's time will only tell.
Pass the cookies around.
Now we definitely need cookies. Yeah.
Are there any other questions for Michelle?
No.
All right. Well, thank you for filling us in, and we'll definitely talk about getting a letter out on our behalf.
And just the very last thing is PJ Day for Kids. As a district, we raised $3,370.06, which is great. So thank you to everyone who participated and contributed. And that is all for my updates.
All right. Any questions for Dr. Macri on any of that? All right. We'll move on to presentations and reports of administration, the 2024-2025 budget update. Reference A in your packet. Mr. Botwell.
So good.
Hi, everyone. So if you took a look at the memo about our budget update, you can see that in general, we're looking pretty good. Our areas of concern, as I think we discuss annually, are special ed, right? So I noted in the memo our transportation line and our tuition lines are a little bit under, so we're watching those carefully. Really, at this point of the year, it's a bit of a prediction in terms of what will happen with state reimbursement amounts, and also as a district, what other responsibilities we might have for students between now and June. So as things continue to evolve, we're plugging the numbers in and trying to get the best read on the situation as we can.
Any questions? Are we going to add on?
I was just going to have Chris explain a little bit so that you understand something else that the state threw at us. Reimbursement rate that we usually get. So I'll have Chris just explain to you quickly about excess costs and what we are hearing and how it affects Cromwell.
Sure. So if you're not aware of excess cost, the state is trying to support students who have excess cost and that impact on the district. So the formula that the state uses to tabulate excess cost is that you look at the annual cost per student, which in Cromwell is about $20,000 per year. You multiply that times 4.5, which would be about $90,000. So any special ed student who has costs connected with transportation, tuition, or services that they receive that go beyond $90,000 roughly, that money would be eligible for reimbursement from the state. So ideally, so basically districts will keep track of all these expenses per student for the special ed students, and they'll collect the full amount for what should, or the amount they would like to get back for those excess expenditures. And so ideally the state would be reimbursing that at 100% rate. But we know that that is never probably ever going to happen because of the budget situation within the state. The state has then decide, well, if they can't do 100%, they break it down. They break the districts down by economic levels, and the top 58 towns economically, theoretically, should receive 85% of their reimbursement. And then numbers 59 through 114 should receive 88, and then the bottom towns would receive 91%. Now, if for some reason the state can't meet those levels of reimbursement, then whatever money that they do actually have available, they'll proportionally reimburse towns with whatever happens to be in the hopper. So most recently, the reimbursement rate has been like around high 60s to 70% the last few years. We recently received information that there's a projection that this year's rate may be as low as just under 60%. And so that for us is a huge red flag, because the projection that we put in for the budget this year was way above 60%. So, that could potentially provide a shortfall for the district in terms of reimbursements. So, at this point, knocking on the podium, we're having a somewhat calm year in terms of special ed. So that may not be the biggest impact for us as a district, but for some districts, that projection of possibly just getting 60% reimbursement could mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on the size of the district.
So if you want to write a letter about that too, districts are definitely doing the same. Like Chris just mentioned, for us, it's looking about $200,000 less, but we are looking, the stars are aligning, and I said I was afraid to say that, but every star is aligning for us right now, and knock on wood that it stays that way, and we should be okay. But things can change really quickly in special education or in facilities, and then we can end up in a hole. But yeah, that's where we're at. Where some states are getting the 100% reimbursement rate, we are now at 59%, 59.8 or something.
Mm-hmm.
When you guess what that's going to be for the next year, what's the downfall of underguessing?
I'll come to you with a really big number. That's the only downfall, is that I come to you with a number and say, I'm putting in a cushion because I really have no idea. And so you would do that at home because that's good budgeting, but because we're using municipality money and taxpayers, and we don't, because if it really got that bad, we could always go back to the town and ask for more money at the end, which isn't anything, like I said, no supervisor or director of finance ever wants to do that, which is why then we freeze the budget and then we go without things so that we can make it up. And it's, that's why we keep a daily eye on it. But
it's been year over year of this happening, right? I mean,
Yeah.
has it ever been what we anticipated in your time?
In my time, I feel that we did pretty good. In the 70s, we always guessed pretty well. Sari, correct me if I'm wrong. We did pretty well with guessing what we would be reimbursed. This year is just such an outlier.
Different. Okay.
And it's scary, because what if next year it's... and they are speaking to the governor about putting some of the money into this pot. But there has been no commitment made to increasing this pot.
I believe last year the state budgeted about $181 million for the reimbursement pot, and the costs at the state level were around $231 million. So they were about $50 million short. And they're anticipating a similar situation or worse this year.
Yeah, to be fair, they don't really know what it's going to cost either, right? What special ed needs will be, that they're predicting too, in a way, right?
Well, the CSDE did, after what we went through last year, then Commissioner Russell Tucker did speak to the governor about this and encouraged him to put more money in this pot. And he said, let's hold on that. And he did put money in education, but it's really at higher ed. So this problem, it wasn't as if we thought this problem was going to go away. And here it is. And so now, right now, we're being told to budget at a 59% reimbursement rate. That is not going to just happen so easily. Between the Connecticut Sick Leave Act and this, people are up in arms. They don't know how they're going to get through the year. So stay tuned. It could possibly change, and then the governor could make a change. But as of today, what we know is that we're being reimbursed at 59.8, am I right, %. And that's a $200,000 shortfall for Cromwell.
Okay,
today.
Alicia, did you have a question?
So when the governor's budget comes out in February, you'll be able to tell what that reimbursement rate is. You'll tell us, and then we have an opportunity to go testify at the Appropriations Committee hearings to say this is inadequate.
Exactly.
Do we ever do that?
We have not.
Okay.
I highly think between these two things, this might be the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we could talk about that after we find out
After
what
we-
the number
yeah.
is and then decide if we want to do. Okay. Thanks. Any other questions? No? Okay. Thank you for your
Thank
report.
you.
All right, on to new business. Item A is the Cromwell High School Marching Band presentation, reference B in your packets. And for that, we have our band director, Mr. Schmidt, and Ms. Whitehill, it is correct? Thank you.
We have a presentation.
It's a PowerPoint.
PowerPoint. In the. Hey everybody. Huh?
Something went wrong.
You can pass them out now. My name's Mike Schmidt. I'm the band director at CHS. This is Nicole Whitehill. She's passing around just a letter that we received before the meeting about this topic. So we're really happy to be talking to you guys about this tonight. We'll try to not to talk too long. We've got some students here who are in favor of starting a marching band here at the high school. We're going to talk about what that means and what we're going to need. So we can...
Do you want me to sign in? Okay.
Okay, cool. We'll start with we'll start with talking about what this means and what we have right now. So we have a concert band and a jazz band. We have a pep band at the high school, and we have the beginnings of a marching band. We have uniforms, we have marching percussion. What we do not have is a competitive field show marching band, which is something that many schools across the state and across the country have. Many college music programs have. So Ms. Whitehill and I have come up with a rough 3-year timeline to start a competitive field show marching band. Year 1, which would be next year. Oh, here we go. Fun. Year 1, we would essentially be... Well, we'll get to that after we watch a little video. There we go. Got the clicker. Cool. So that was UConn's marching band. Just an example of what we're talking about and a goal, okay? So year 1, which would be next year, obviously we would not be at that point, okay? That's the goal. Year 1 would be essentially a standstill field show, okay? Something that we could do at the football games at halftime shows, all right? All the while rehearsing, teaching the kids how to march, how to do those movements, okay? With aspirations for possibly moving in formation year 1, okay? Going to see some shows. So essentially, the majority of the year is teaching, okay, with standstill performing. Year 2, we're starting to include drill, which drill is the design, the formations, okay? So year 2, we would be moving. And then year 3 would be Saturday competitions. So this would then be like a sports team, okay? Every Saturday in the fall from September to the middle of November, there are competitions at high schools in the state, okay? So this is something that we would love to be participating in within 3 years, possibly even 2, depending on how things go, okay? Let's see. Ms. Whitehill's going to talk about schedule week to week.
All right. Sorry, I'm really short, so I got to bring this down to my face. So my background's in color guard, so that's kind of where I fit into this whole equation. So just kind of a little outline of when we'd be rehearsing, what our rehearsals would look like. We're looking at about 3 rehearsals a week, one based in music, one based in a full color guard and band rehearsal on the field, and then one where we just practice those marching skills that are very vital for success in a marching band. Our performances would happen at the football games initially to start, halftime show performances on the field. And then our goal would be to compete potentially, like Mike said, year 2. But for sure by year 3, we want to make sure we're out there in those competitions. And a big piece of marching band is band camp. So you can see out here the last week of August before school starts. This would be a full-time job, not quite a 9 to 5, but an 8 to 4, where we'd get here and kind of work on those skills all day, every day for that week. Color guard's kind of a special beast because we have to do full choreography and performances. So we would have a special guard camp that would happen the same times, but the week before band camp. So the last 2 weeks of summer would be spent learning skills and for color guard specifically, honing in on some routine that we're going to need throughout our season.
Okay, so some of the benefits. Obviously, lots of leadership opportunities. Marching bands have drum majors, they have section leaders, color guard captains, instrumental section captains, that would be woodwind, brass, percussion captain, pit captain. So tons of leadership opportunities. It's something that we heard a little bit already tonight about. It's something that drove me to become a music teacher. It's something that drove many of my friends and colleagues to go into this profession and professions like it. And I think it's an extremely important thing to offer students who may not be athletes, who may not be involved in other clubs that offer these types of opportunities, scholarship opportunities, preparation for careers in music, especially music education. The letter we passed out to you all, I'm not going to read the whole thing because I don't want to take too much time, but it's written by a former student, Olivia Fortenbach. She's a freshman now at UConn, and she participates in their marching band, which we just saw a video of. And she writes about how impactful her experience has been so far this fall, but how she felt that she was not quite prepared for what she was getting into, and that if we had offered this experience in high school, it would have been a lot easier for her to transition into that program. She also mentions, which is true, that a lot of college programs that have these types of groups will not accept somebody that doesn't have the experience. So we're limiting our students by not offering them. And what I can say is that in our music department, we offer the things we need to offer our students other than this. This is a big hole in our program. We also have some students here I mentioned, okay? We have many seniors who, a couple of which will be going into music. I have a junior here tonight. Matt, you want to come on up and say some things? Matt Fisk is our junior drum major, so we do have drum majors even though we don't have a marching band. I try to provide them with leadership opportunities. He's going to say a couple of things about how he feels about this. Go ahead, Matt.
Hello everyone, my name is Matthew Fisk and I am the junior drum major here at Cromwell High School. Next year I'm set to take position as the drum major of our current pep band and would be the first drum major of the marching band at CHS if you agree to approve our proposal. As mentioned before, marching band would be a great opportunity for those aspiring to go into the field of music. Personally, I hope to someday be a music educator, and marching band is something that is very important to me to do so. While being part of a marching band is a phenomenal skill for teaching students one day, it is also something that is beneficial to my career as a whole. I have begun the process of touring schools where I will someday end up to gain my bachelor's degree in music education. Most of them have offered a marching band program there, which I can participate in. The only problem with that is that these marching bands are very competitive with an audition process, but that puts kids like me who don't currently have a marching band in high school at a big disadvantage. Those who did have a marching band experience in high school have a much greater chance as they have been taught skills like drill and how to move around in a marching band, and that's very beneficial for them because it gives them more of a leg up than kids like me who haven't have any experience for something like that when they get to college. Here at CHS, I participate in every single musical group we have, whether that be jazz band, select choir, concert band, musical even, but because we don't currently offer a marching band, it might cause me to miss out on this specific experience. For this reason, offering a marching band here at CHS can not only help me, but many other students hoping to pursue a successful career in music education. Sports at our school is also something we take great pride in. We have state championship winning sports teams here at CHS, but there are plenty of kids like me looking for an opportunity to compete like that without an inclination towards sports, I apologize. Adding a marching band could give so many kids in our music department a chance to join a team and be part of something. There are regional state competitions all over the state for marching bands to participate in, giving the kids to compete in competitions that may not have otherwise gotten a chance to. Thank you for listening, and I'll give it back to Mr. Schmidt and Ms. Whitehill.
Thank you so much.
All right. So in terms of student involvement, first of all, thank you, Matt. That was really well spoken. In terms of student involvement for next year, okay, just looking at our program as a whole here at the high school, we can confidently say about 20 or more students in the band, and Miss Whitehill can talk about the color guard, okay? I want to just mention, too, Miss Nelson and I, choir director, are used to recruiting, okay? This is a big part of our job, so looking at the middle school, looking at the rest of the high school, it's something that we're not afraid to do, go out into the community of the school system and find more students. So, in my opinion, 20 students is low, but it's something that I can confidently say without having a program that we can start with and then grow in the future. Ms. Whitehill, you want to talk about color guard?
All right. So, we currently do have a little tiny baby color guard that we are currently a parade color guard. And you'll see that the color guard numbers are lower than band for estimates for next year. This is mostly due to the fact that we don't have it built into our schedule like we would a band program. However, I can confidently say that at the beginning of the year, we only really meet a few times because, again, it's really just for our 2 parades that we currently participate in. We have steadily had about 12 to even up to 20 at certain points throughout my couple of years helping out with color guard students who participate in those parades. Now, being a more consistent club after school, I do expect that those numbers initially are going to drop a little bit from the 20 or 15 down to probably 5 to 10 initially. But as Mr. Schmidt said, as we grow this program, kids like competition, kids like to win, kids like trophies, they like the opportunity to showcase their talents. And as we start to move towards those competitive platforms, we do expect that students are going to want to buy into this program more than right off the rip. Just based on what we've seen, I'm a math teacher for those of you that I don't know. But even through my experience with the music department, I'm one of the directors for the musical. I'm pretty involved. I'm the honorary 3rd member of the music department. I've self-proclaimed myself. But even with just observationally, kids do buy into when there's competition involved. So you'll see at the bottom of the slide, it does say we do have the goal of increasing involvement once we're established. I think that goes for any club, but especially this growing program, that could be something awesome. And as we get competing, we do anticipate those numbers to grow pretty substantially. I won't use exponentially, but substantially. So, math teacher. All right.
Okay, now the fun part. So, I have here a chart that outlines the first really 3 years and then 4 and beyond, okay, in terms of the finances. So the first two items obviously would be our stipends, okay, which the first year, according to the contract, would be half, and then beyond you can see from there. We have drum major camp included in there. That's sort of an essential thing for our drum major each year to learn leadership skills. This is a normal thing for each for marching bands to have in their budget. We have rights to music and drill. Okay, this is similar to what we have in our normal music budget right now. It's just marching band specific, and these are sort of middle of the road estimates from what I've seen in my own research. As I mentioned before, the drill is the design basically for the movements of the show. Okay, these things can be purchased online. We have starting year 3, because that would be our proposed competition year to start. The bus estimate, which is based on a basketball estimate for a season, I believe. Okay, Mr. Kuckle can help me out with that if you guys have questions. You want to talk about some equipment? Yeah. Color guard stuff?
So you'll see on this list just this general equipment. This is color guard equipment. Specifically, we need silks. Silks get ruined very quickly as you're dropping your flag and throwing it around and it's brushing against the floor. So every year we'll probably need to purchase a few replacements. That would also go towards things like new flag poles as we grow. There's also other things that you can do in color guard, including rifle work, saber work. These are all essential parts of color guard. We're not going to have those right off the rip. They can be a little bit expensive, but if we could slowly incorporate those with that part of the budget, that's kind of the goal there. And then there's one that we missed here, which would be staff. As we grow this program and become competitive, there's some necessary people that we would need to assist with certain mechanics for certain instrumentation, especially. Our first year, we would definitely need a percussion staff person. I'm not a percussionist, and Mr. Schmidt is not a percussionist. We know the basics, but to really hone in on those skills for competitive purposes, we would need somebody to come in and assist with that. And then as we get bigger, we'd want to include one more staff person to help with brass or woodwinds or pit, depending on what the need would be for instrumentation of students.
Okay, so the last two items, sorry about that, guys. I'll talk about the last one, the line marker. That's a one-time purchase. That's why it's highlighted. It's just something that we would need to use so we could practice outside in locations that are not the football field, because we would be not the football team and we wouldn't be able to use the football field all the time. And then that big ticket item there, the one-time purchase of a trailer/vehicle. I included this because when we do start competing, traveling every weekend, we have a ton of equipment that needs to be transported. And at the moment, we're not really set up to do that unless we were to rent trucks every weekend, rent extra busing, figure some situation out, which when we travel, which the band does travel, we end up renting a vehicle, but that's usually once or twice a year. So when we're talking 5-6 Saturdays or more a year, we're going to have to figure out some way. So in terms of trailer, there's a lot of school districts in the state that have trailers. There's even in very large schools like Norwalk, Meriden, etc. They have box trucks, things like that. We're not a large school, so I did some research on trailers. Closed trailers that would be the appropriate size come out to about that price. Again, that's like an average. So I included it in year 3 because that's the year that we would hopefully start to compete consistently. Okay, but that's something that could even be flexible, and we could do more research on. In terms of year 4 plus, the rest of those items are yearly expenses as we see them. Okay, we looked at this sort of from the lens of the other things we do, and one of those things is the musical. And when we do the musical, we hire multiple people to help us. We hire uniform people, we hire a set builder, we hire tons of different staff, and we have all these expenses. So it's a similar situation, similar caliber of performance. Thank you. And lastly, with the budget, I want to just say that I sort of mentioned it before, but we already have in our program marching band uniforms. We have marching band percussion. We have mallet percussion designed for marching band. So this is something that has been in the works even before I've gotten here. Okay, my predecessor had been purchasing things year to year to set this up. So this conversation isn't the first step in this process. It's actually like one of the last steps in this process. It's just the big one. So we wouldn't have to purchase many of the big ticket items to get us started, believe it or not. Okay.
You're saying we actually have uniforms.
We do have uniforms, yeah. We use them right now in a couple of parades, and I try to use them when appropriate. But what they're designed for is competitive marching band, and right now they're sitting in an instrument closet.
So they're not dated. They're brand new.
No, they're ready to go. They're fairly new. Sure, yeah. The other thing that exists is the pep band, and that is a stipend position. We have the pep band. We're at every single home game, okay, with the majority of our concert band right now, week to week or game to game, I should say. We have about 30 to 40 kids at every single game. So this my stipend, the marching band stipend, would encompass that. That would go away, and the pep band would turn into the marching band. So again, that's just another item that is already has been in the works. The next two slides. Oh, sure, go ahead. Yep.
So the current stipend, you would actually minus that out of these costs.
Correct, which
So
I
it
didn't
would
put
be-
in there. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yep, we'd be saving that pep band stipend.
Interject. So as an aunt of a drum major from UConn and a band director, I could tell you how much this child, he's not a child, he has children now, has grown from marching band and the band program. The excitement and the passion that band directors bring, and music teachers, and Nicole being part of that, is just so contagious. I would love to see this happen. The work that these people put into this, they're making pennies on the dollar. They are truly doing this because they love it and they want to see our kids really grow into something incredible. And the leadership skills that these kids learn through this is just unbelievable. I believe it's been what's made my nephew so successful in life in other areas as well. So I am jaded, just to let you know, but to let you, the work that these wonderful people have done to try to get it down to this price is unbelievable. And I know we are struggling and we want everything to be funded, but I just really want to thank Nicole and Mike and Carly and all of you for everything that you do, because like I said, it's piddlywinks compared to what you do. So I feel badly that you keep thinking you have to mention the stipend. Don't even mention it, because you work like 5,000 hours more. I know it goes into it. I think the biggest concern, uniforms, which you addressed, and as the program grows, and then the trailer and things like that. But yeah, I just wanted to say that because you're worth every penny, and I know you put in like triple the amount of work. So
Thank you for saying that.
And you can continue now. And now I'll try not to be biased.
Well, the next couple of slides are logistics, which mostly speak for themselves. I mean, it's essentially where would we practice? We can practice most places, side fields, even parking lots. and then working with our athletic director, with coaches on possibly getting to fields periodically so we could prepare to move around on fields. Pearson Park, and again with the existence of the pep band, the Friday night football games in the beginning, it's nothing new for us. I included in the next one, I think, instrument transportation, which we sort of talked about a little bit, and I believe that's it in terms of logistics. So, like Dr. Macri said, this is something that me and Nicole are very passionate about. I did this when I was in high school. It was, one of the most important things I did in my life. All of my best friends, my groomsmen in my wedding, my brother, we all did this. This was, very, very important to us. I know how good it is for kids, and I know how good it is for the kids that, like I said, are not athletes. I was not an athlete, and I felt like I was part of a team, and when we won, I felt the same pride that the football team felt when they won. So I think it's extremely important. Does anyone have any questions for us?
Questions? Catherine.
I have a couple. First of all, you can call yourselves athletes because I've seen marching bands. I've seen them play and run across fields.
True.
I lived with 2 marching band members in college. I went to University of Maryland. They worked their butts off. If they didn't do marching band, they would never make it into pep band because that's what they base it all off of.
Yep.
They all did marching band in high school. It's a requirement in order to get it. So we're lucky that for Olivia, she didn't need it to go to UConn.
Yeah.
Rocky Hill has a marching band. I know kids that are there at UConn now that are performing, but they have a huge leg up. They've had a marching band forever in Rocky Hill. I don't know, and I'm just asking out of curiosity, and I'm confident that this program will get up and running, if it's approved, hopefully once approved. But are there minimum number of participants required in order to enter some of these competitions? I know there's competitions every weekend across the state, mostly in Fairfield County, unfortunately. But for marching band, do they require? Because I know our school is small compared to the Maloney's, the Southingtons, and all of those larger high schools that perform. So do they have a minimum number of participants required to enter these?
Yeah. So there's an extensive class ranking system based on the size of your school. So I think, I'm not going to get it right off the top of my head, but the minimum or the smallest group is actually like under 10. I think it's like 5 to 15 or something, 5 to 20, something like that. So I think in the first couple of years, we would be in that smaller group. And I know, Ms. Whitehill, you went to Berlin High School, which you guys had a smaller group.
I can kind of talk a little bit on that. So,
but they do allow, if you only have 5 members, they allow you to enter into the competition.
So if I remember correctly, it's by the size of your band, not your school. So when I was in high school, we had a competitive marching band and a football marching band. It was 2 separate marching bands, and our band was probably 17 horns and 4 color guard people. So it was very small, and we were still able to compete against, and I think it's like 29. I think it's like 29 and under is class 1A. So I think it's the minimum requirement is extremely tiny for entry into those competitions.
Just a secondary question about, you said a trailer, and I know that going to competitions, and I'm just asking logistics, how would you get the trailer there if you can't attach it to the back of a bus?
Yep. You want to talk on that, or you want me to?
Sure, I can talk. Well,
is it insured? All that other good stuff?
Yeah. I put trailer, and how would it be transported? At the beginning, it would be parent volunteers, okay? Because the other option is to have some sort of vehicle, which is going to be a much bigger ticket item. So, it would have to be parent volunteers. I mean, and again, I mentioned the musical before. We have an army of parents. The community always supports us in this. So if that were the case, if it were to be a trailer, I'm pretty confident we would be able to get it transported. I was in marching band in high school. I have taught at sort of as like an adjunct sort of thing at other high schools. And they always have some combination of parent groups who take up some of these responsibilities. It's not abnormal to ask for one of the dads to use their truck or something like that.
So I'm sorry, quick question.
Yep.
I feel stupid asking, but can we hitch this trailer to the vans that we own? Or is that it?
Possibly. Yeah, possibly. It's going to depend on the size and the weight, but
okay. Because that's
that
just
is a
something we
possibility.
could look into, because they really just sit there in the evenings and on the weekends.
Yes.
And you could get your license, and Nicole can get their license, and you
Mhm.
can drive them, and you're insured.
Yep. Yeah.
But I just don't know if the hitch, like we would have to
If
buy
you'd be
some-
able
yeah,
to.
what-
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. It's something we can look into. That's an option. The idea of a trailer, again, is like, it's an idea at this point, and we have a year or two to like kind of think of how we're going to do that. I mentioned the other option, which some schools do this, is they budget for rentals every weekend. Luckily, I'm sorry to cut you off. Luckily, we're a small school, and a rental would mean a smaller vehicle, smaller box truck. I worked for Bunnell High School in Stratford, and they rented a giant box truck every Saturday. So,
I don't know eventually if this would be on your radar screen, but I know that some of these marching bands travel for
Mhm.
football games to
Mhm.
other towns.
Yep.
And it's fantastic when the high school doesn't have anything and you get to listen to a band. So it's
yeah, I
really
know.
cool.
Yeah, and that's something that I've talked to some people about doing, possibly, which we do the home games now, but traveling is on the table too. Yeah, for sure. I agree. Yeah, thank you.
This has come up every year, I feel like, for the past few years, and this never been presented to us in this way, though, with this
Mhm.
much thought and the steps that you laid out and everything. So I appreciate the presentation and your passion and the fact that you're willing to get this started. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you for having us.
Does anyone have any other questions?
How would transportation work for like Pearson Park and expenses? How does that all?
Yep. So right now, when the pep band, the kids transport themselves at the moment, which in the beginning we'd be able to do that. If in the future we wanted to change that, we could bus them over like the teams do in terms of the football games. But right now we have the kids transport themselves to Pearson Park on Friday nights for the games. Yeah. So practices would be here, and then the practices that we would be able to get at Pearson Park, in the beginning it would be the same thing, transportation on their own.
To let you know that some of our others, like the tennis and cheerleading, they practice at different locations than the high school. They're required to transport themselves there. We don't. The school doesn't. And a lot of practices, the students will go home first and then come back for. So even that, because they can't sit at the school, they can't necessarily always stay at the school. So they usually are transportations on your own when it's within the town.
I do want to add to that. So Mike mentioned that our practices would be here. Those would be our after school, like 2:45 start practices. And that's where the line marker would come into play. We'd create our own lines. The Pearson Park practice would likely be an evening practice. So figure like 4:30 to 6:30 or like 5:30 to 7:30, something along those lines, where nobody's at Pearson actively practicing for something else. It's an open field. We can kind of do that. And that'll give kids enough time to find a ride via parent, guardian, aunt, uncle, whomever, each other.
So although this isn't an action item for tonight, obviously it's something they would like included in the budget for next year. It seems very minimal for next year's budget anyway, the impact. So I'm not opposed to asking Dr. Macri to include it in her initial budget. And of course, we'll see what happens when we find out more numbers for everything. But is that something we're looking to do this evening to kind of move it forward to the next step? Okay. And Dr. Macri, do you have any comments?
Thank you. I am excited about it. I'm not going to lie. I've been wanting to do this for a long time for all the reasons that the two amazing teachers just mentioned. But we will add it to the budget. And also, I have some ideas, too, of how we can help that I can share that we did with Middletown when I was there. That may decrease some expenses, but in the meantime, the bang that we're getting for our buck from these two passionate educators, our students will cherish for the rest of their lives. So thank you both for committing your lives to this, because it's so important. And you're right, it does make you a very well-rounded adult as well. So thank you.
And I'm so sorry. We have one more question from Catherine.
That's not a question, but it sounds like we're wrapping up. We see you all back there. We really, your faces do make a difference that you come to support this. So I want you to know we appreciate you sitting through all our other stuff that you're probably not really interested in, but we appreciate you coming out. It really does make a bigger impact because we put faces to what we're talking about and who it's going to directly affect. So thank you for coming out to support this. I know that's why you're all here. So we see you.
Yep.
All right. Thank you both very much. Thank you to Matthew for your comments and to everyone that's here. And we look forward to hearing more in the future.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And from there, we'll go on to the Cromwell High School Program of Studies. Mr. Kuckel, would you come up and elaborate, please? I unfortunately can't click the link at the moment. Everything is saying broken, but
yeah.
So if you want to fill us in on any changes or any highlights that you want to.
Sure.
Let's just give them a minute to clear the room.
That works.
Need to get home and get rest so they can come to school
Yeah,
bright
so
and early tomorrow.
you don't have access to the memo or anything? Nothing? Okay.
It's not opening at the moment.
All right, no. Could just approve it and we
Sorry.
can move on.
Yeah. Is the memo at least?
All right. So, the biggest changes that we have, aside from the new courses that you've already approved, those are in there. We have some name changes of courses, nothing too crazy, and small little nuanced things that we're doing. But really, the biggest change is that we're making is for the GPA scale for the incoming students in the class of 2029 and beyond. That's without a doubt our biggest change, along with adding our vision of the graduate demeanors and dispositions requirement for the class of 2026 and beyond. That, though, I will say is pending BOE policy and BOE approval as we update our graduation policy, which I believe will be happening in the coming months. So that change will be reflected in the program of studies once that is done. But again, the biggest change that I will highlight is our GPA scale. We've looked at a lot of other schools and looked at a lot of what we did, and we've decided that it is in the best interest of our students and for the school to change how we calculate GPA and our GPA weights. But we have to do that starting with the incoming class of 2029, because essentially if we can't change GPA weights that we've already assigned. Right, there's a lot that would be wrong with that. So we would be on a 4.0 scale for the class of 2029 and eventually for everybody, which is common for what we see around different areas. Right now, if you are unfamiliar with our current GPA scale, we are on a 17-point scale, which maxes out at 24 points. It is a relic of the Stone Age. We really don't know how we ever got this. I'm being serious. Yeah, it's the truth. And when you simplify it down, what ends up happening is colleges reach out often, not understanding what that number is, because on the transcript it says 17.58, 18.93. And our counselors are constantly fielding questions as to what does this mean? What do I do? How do I get it to a 4.0 scale? And really, it's not off a 4.0 scale. It's off a 3.4 scale. Which we do report out to colleges as well, because under the proposed one, your lowest level for a student to achieve an A, that's your traditional 4.0 scale. And in this situation, our current model, for a student to achieve an A in our lowest level is a 3.4. And not only that, we have large gaps. We have 0.6 gaps in between each challenging level. So right now our setup is honors level 1, level 2. So if you go from a level 1 to an AP course, same course, there's a 0.6 difference, which is a very wide spread, as we, again, looked at a lot of other high schools, a lot of schools in our Shoreline Conference to see what they were doing. And we've noticed really the spread is a third. That's where you commonly see for a GPA scale, where they go in 0.33 increments. So our proposed scale, if you took our lowest level, you get an A, you'd get a 4.0. If you take an AP class, you'd get a 4.67. A plus 5.0, so on and so forth. And we are also changing the names. So right now, as it stands, we have honors level 1, level 2, which again, at the college level is very confusing because honors means something very different to just about every other high school in the state of Connecticut, except for ours. Honors for us right now is AP or dual enrollment classes, where in most other high schools you look at, honors is your level 1 or whatever you want to call that. So we have made the shift to go APDE, which is dual enrollment for what is our traditionally our former honors level. And then our level 1 will be honors, which makes sense, again, when students are applying and sending the transcripts to college. And then our lowest level will be CCP, which is college and career prep, again, which aligns more with the focus of what students are doing in those courses, which is not just college, it's also career prep as well. So those are the big changes that we have in the program of studies in terms of how we're handling GPA. And then the other change that we looked at as well is for the longest time we were silent on, we do have valedictorian, we do have salutatorian, we do recognize students in the top 10%, but we never took a position because it never was an issue on transfer students. And what would make you eligible as a transfer student to be valedictorian, right? The things that we think about that keep us up at night. And again, it's another thing that we did a lot of research into, and where we landed was 4 consecutive semesters. So midway through your senior year is when we essentially close off GPA and we run rank and we determine Val and Sal top 10%. So what we'd be saying essentially is you would have had to move into the district by midway through your sophomore year to be eligible for those honors. Because obviously it could be a concern if someone came in from a Xavier or a Mercy or a Vinyl and they came to us at the start of their senior year and we were silent on that, or the midway through the junior year. So we looked at other schools, what they were doing, and saw 4 semesters seemed to be, a good spot for us to take a position. And again, I think that's an important thing for you to know as the board, that that's the position we would like to take when it comes to transfer students coming in. And we've never had an issue with that, but it's better that we have a position on that.
And that's standard procedure, you said, in other districts?
Yes. Yep. And for other districts, it became standard procedure after. Yes. Yes. And in this situation, something that we'd like to get ahead of.
Mm-hmm. Catherine, you had a question.
I do. So when you were talking about, and I'm sorry, I don't have the exact, because we can't get in, the renaming of everything, were you saying that now we have the AP and ECE credit, we have honors, we have another level, and then or we just have the honors and the college?
Honors level 1 and level 2 is what we currently have.
Okay, we have honors level 1.
In honors.
Thank you. Because I read through this at home and had questions on it. So, okay, so there's... Okay,
honors,
so we have the AP and dual enrollment.
Yep.
We have honors, and we have the college. What do we call it? The
college and career prep. That's what we want to move forward to. That's future.
Right, that's what's going to be called. It's
yep.
also here. It's written right up here. So okay, so we still have 3 levels.
Yes.
Okay, but honors isn't. We're just different. If you're not taking AP or dual enrollment, then it's just a 2.
Honors and then CCP, yeah.
Okay.
And that was without a doubt when we talked to our school counselors. That's one of the biggest questions they get, and it's the most confusing for colleges in the application process when they see honors and then they see L1, L2, because again, it's very rare. Like the terminology we were using, the weight scale we were using, we were an outlier in many regards.
Well, I know that some of the college applications flat out ask you, do you take any honors classes? And technically we didn't offer any because they don't consider AP and dual enrollment honors.
Yeah.
So technically students were saying no, and that's a huge detriment to them.
Correct.
Applying to some of these schools. So.
Which is why we want to make the changes now. And we did look at, could we phase everything in all at once? But again, we couldn't guarantee that all GPAs would go up if we did that, because of the way the scale works. So the class of 2029 will have what we think is a really solid GPA weighting scale, a fair scale, equitable scale, but one that, again, if you're challenging yourself, you get rewarded, and if you're not doing well, you know, it's going to reflect that, you know, as well. And then at the same time, you know, we do like the name change is important for us because I think especially with our lower level, it explains like you're here, yeah, for college, but also for career readiness as well, in the courses that you're taking.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Go ahead, Alicia.
What do we do for the students that are in the classes that won't be affected by this change to explain? I know my kids had trouble in the admissions process trying to navigate what's a 17-point scale. Do we send any communication out with the applications that explain the uniqueness of Cromwell's
We do.
approach? Okay.
We do. We send out a school profile that goes to the colleges when you apply to a different college. So they would get that information. They would know what system we have, what we shifted over to. So the transcript itself is frozen in time, right, in terms of for next year's students, the classes they would have taken, it would still show something different on there. But our school profile would do the best it can to clearly articulate that honors for this student is the L1. And those are the conversations that our school counselors were having on a pretty regular basis. Yep.
Are there any other questions?
So, well, one thing we looked at was, so we approve a program of study, students take classes based on, right, what they think it is, and we were only comfortable saying, all right, is there a chance we can do this for all the grades all at once if we could guarantee you that your GPA would go up, right, based on the new proposed scale? And the reality is it would not, because, or we could not guarantee they would all go up because our current GPA scale, as out of whack as it is, it gives a lot of GPA points when you get a D. And it gives a lot of GPA points when you have a 65, a 67, 72, more than you should get. And the new proposed scale would actually bring you down on that. And so students who had, you know, D's and C's and even in some cases B's, their scores could, their new ones would actually possibly go down. Well, we believe there would be a problem with that.
You will
yes.
get all the phone calls, Mr.
Well, that's a hard conversation, you know, because you as the board would have to approve, like, yeah, it's okay, we're gonna make this change because it's the right thing to do, but then, you know, as a parent, you'd be sitting on the other side saying, well, wait a second, so my kid's GPA is gonna possibly.
Yeah, you can't take it back.
We don't know what it would do. Yeah, you know. It's like a recalibration, yeah, or calibration.
Listen, Alan, you don't want to go down that road.
It's and we've looked at that, and there is Valley Regional actually. No, so we have.
really do not care about my well-being.
No, or mine. No, we actually, Alan, we did look at that. In Valley Regional, they're actually a year ahead of us. You know, of doing the exact same thing. It's just, it's an unfortunate 4-year slow progression, but. You know, 4 years from now, we'll be sitting in a very good, comfortable spot with how we do everything. Yeah. 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 And this is, yeah. Yeah. This is something we've looked at for a long time, and it's a conversation, you know. We know there's still going to be a lot of confusing conversations. We plan on having a parent information night. Yeah. We're going to have a parent information night, though, about the new program of studies, the changes, to really help people understand what's going on, why we're doing it. You know, but it's one of those things that some parents have noticed that and picked up on it over time. And you know, I think we're finally in a position where we're ready to push forward and make the change.
All right. So this is something that we do approve each year. So if there are no other questions, is there a motion to approve the program of studies? Crickets. Alicia, is there a second? By Matt, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions? The program of studies is approved. Thank you, Mr. Kuckel.
Thank you.
Item C, the annual indoor air quality submission. And Mr. Bizzano, are you still here? Yeah, you're here. If you'd then just come up and briefly fill us in on that. Is the light on, Claudio? I'm sorry. Is the light on the mic? Is it on? It's just so quiet.
How's that?
That's better.
Any better? Okay. To provide some background, everybody's confused what indoor air quality means. Basically, everything that is in the building affects the air quality of the building. There's equipment that move air around, condition air. There's trash that affects indoor air qualities. There's the structure of the building, what it's made up, whether it's carpeting, whether it's acoustical ceilings. There's pest control, pest management. There's food service. All these things are part of the indoor air quality. And last but not least, humans, people. They affect the air quality in the building, everything from the perfumes they wear and from things they don't do. So, that all being said, per state mandate, we are required to complete an assessment every year. It's required to be completed by January 1st of every year. We have completed ours. There's one done for every single school that we have, all 4. And by state mandate, it's required to be on a website, which is already up there. It's under the link EPA Tools for School. So if you're interested in looking into what the assessment are of these buildings, you can go ahead and look at it. It is required by the state to be brought to the Board of Ed and inform the Board of Ed that it exists. So to let you know, we're compliant, we're done, and some of the things that I found through the assessment process are things that are included in the capital improvement. You'll see some mechanical systems that are in there, some exhaust fans. These are things to continually improve. It's a never-ending battle. We're also moving into a 5-year process that the state recently created, where we have to bring in engineers to come in and assess air movement in all the classrooms in a buildings. And by state mandate, we're required to do 20% of our district every year across 5 years and then repeat the process. So you'll also see that we discussed the CNR, and I think number one thing on the CNR is indoor air quality assessment, one school. So because we're required to do 20%, and we only have 4 schools, my intent is to do 1 school a year and keep up with the mandate. Any questions?
No, I don't think so. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
And moving on to item D, increasing educator diversity plan approval. This would be the other item that you were referring to. So reference D in your packets, and I'll let Dr. Macri explain.
We received an email with a letter attached from the Commissioner Charlene Russell Tucker, Commissioner of Education, and our educator diversity plan has now been passed. And I'd like to thank Ms. Morrow and Dr. McLean for working so hard on making sure that we got our plan passed the second time around. So we are now in compliance. So thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you for all your efforts. Any questions on that? All right. School lunch debt donation of $5,000, reference E in your packets.
This is also, we have this foundation, the Robbins Family Foundation, and they reached out to us a few years ago, and they selected Cromwell Public Schools to help us pay our lunch unpaid meals debt. And it started off, I believe, as $500, then $1,000, then $1,500, and this year they gave us $5,000. So writing a very nice thank you letter, and we're so grateful. We don't know how we were selected. They don't tell us. We just are, and we're grateful for it.
Great. Any questions? Comments? No. All right, action item F, approval of minutes and motions from the December 10th regular meeting, reference F. Motion. Catherine, is there a second? Second. Alan, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. The minutes are approved. Action item G, stipend approval, 2023-24, reference G in your packets, which, there's a typo.
$26.58 or something was not.
I can't pull it up right now. Can you remind us what the stipend's for? It is now? Oh, okay.
$26.28 per hour. per, I don't know, Michelle, is that per hour? Per hour.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought it was an hourly stipend, isn't it?
It is an hourly stipend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about that at a meeting in the fall.
Okay. Is there a motion to
Intramurals
approve
are
the stipend? Catherine, is there a second? Matt, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. The stipend is approved. Moving on to informational human resources personnel activity, reference H in your packets. Looks like a lot of new hires, as always. A few resignations and some openings. Any questions on that?
Sorry, I do see.
Okay, go ahead.
So the resignations, Michelle, all these folks are eligible for those 5 days.
No, this is before.
I think they're already resigned.
Oh, because they resigned in December. But if they resign in January, they can still take 5 days of paid sick leave during their resignation period. And we can't question it.
We still have to give 2 weeks
I
notice.
haven't had anyone do that. I mean, to be honest with you, you can't get paid out for it. We don't pay out. So if you don't use it, you lose it by the end of the time. But I haven't had anyone do that. I mean, they technically could say,
Within their 2-week notice period.
yeah,
They not show up for 5 days. And
yes, yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah, that could definitely give us a 2-week notice, and then the last 5 days say, I'm not coming in. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Well, YouTube was a little glitchy tonight, so maybe it didn't catch that. All right, thank you, Michelle. Where are we? Principal reports. Anything on the principal reports? All right. Yes.
Just not on the principals, but on the human resources one. The girls' soccer coach has resigned, and for the high school, he's been here an incredibly long time, hasn't he? And he helped. Yeah, and he helped them win a state title last year. So it's impressive that he's been here for so long. I was just surprised to see he retired.
Yep. So that position will be open, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, hopefully we'll get someone good. All right, policies for second read, none. First read, policy. Oh, see, now I went back to the digital copy, and then I forgot about that. You're right. Sorry. Thank you, Lisa. You're the best.
Helps me all day long.
You're the best.
This is how you get through codependency.
All right, action item J, CNR projects approval. So, Mr. Bazzano, would you come back up for, this was approved through the facilities committee earlier tonight. This is something that we've been working on in the committee between the town, the tri-board type committee. We've been working on facilities. So this is for CNR projects. We approved it at our facilities meeting tonight to come to us. And from here, we need to also approve it before we can request it of the town. And yes, well, you have a one-pager there. It should say capital non-reoccurring on it, on the top. We do need to approve this, yes. Any questions from what you've seen? Most of us here were at facilities, so I think we're good, but anything on this side of the table? Oh, yeah, they do. Who's Steve? Who's Steve? Oh, Wiganowski? Okay, sorry. Yeah.
The facilities requested the LEA budget. The single pager you have where there's 19 items on there are the items that are made up mostly by the Gordian report, and in addition there's some items that were either not approved at last year's CNR budget or things that we've added this year that is just one part of the Gordian report, but are things that we need. The one going to the town is $1.8 million.
And these are for consideration. They will take it from there on what they're going to continue to approve or not approve or hold off until the
That's
the
our
next year.
request, and it'll be up to the town to either approve them all or approve part of them or provide X amount of funding. And they're numbered 1 through 19 as prioritization. Depending how much funding we receive, it'll determine how many of those projects we get done.
And they also won't necessarily be done in this order, depending on circumstances. You were given that flexibility, if I remember right.
Yes, only because some of them are pretty high dollar amounts. So if everything was perfect, we go in order 1 through 19. But we'll have to take a look at the funding profile to determine which ones, and we'll have that conversation again.
And again, there are a couple of ECS items on here, but a lot of the ECS items we're holding off for the bigger conversation about ECS.
There are some immediate needs regarding ECS that still have to be done no matter what happens with that building, because no matter what is decided, it'll be many years down the road, just as a process.
Any questions?
Yeah, we did a quarter of them last year, and we intend to do another quarter this year.
So the motion would be to approve the superintendent's request for the CNR projects to be moved forward, to be proposed to the town for their consideration and approval. That's the motion that we're looking for tonight. Would anyone like to make that motion? Matt, is there a second? Catherine, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Lisa. Again, no thank you. All right, policies, none on for second read, but we do have first read A through, that's a lot of them. Wow. A through Q? R is repeal on mine. Did it change?
Yeah, there are repeals.
There's a bunch of repeals.
It may have changed, but Lisa, do you know if the policy on my packet it says R?
On mine it says repeal, but let me look online. A through Q? Yeah, so yours is
I'm wondering if yours didn't have removed the one that we asked to pull.
Student discipline?
The employment and student teacher checks. We wanted to clarify that, so I wonder if when it was copy and pasted in the original one, if that piece wasn't pulled out. You want me to show you what I'm talking about?
No, I remember.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm
That's
wondering
probably
if is that what's in, yeah, it should be like a F or something, so, but it's pulled out on ours, I checked to make sure.
Okay, so A through Q. Any questions on, these are just first read, so we would move them to second read unless there are questions. And then the rest are repealed. Remind me, do we need to vote on repealing those? Just the first reads to move to second read? Okay, is there a motion to move A through Q to a second read? Alan, second. Matt, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Oh, okay. Board committee reports. There's an attachment for policy. Reference DD, facilities and technology. We met tonight, talked about mostly what the CNR was. Anything else you want to add from that meeting? It was pretty brief. From facilities? Okay. Topics for future agendas and possible action to approve additional topics. Does anyone have anything they'd like to see on the agenda? I know we do have one that was requested from our last meeting, and we'd like to put it on for May. We just need some more focus time on the budget, so that was the request to look into the additional holiday or celebration of Diwali. Okay. One more thing I wanted to mention, as far as meetings are concerned, our budget meeting is on the 28th. That'll be our first budget meeting. And then I do have a request to move the February 11th meeting, which is scheduled, to February 4th. So if you could all check your calendars and see if we'll have quorum for that, we'll need to do that. That would give us about a week to look at the budget, come up with some questions. It's a short turnaround, but I think sometimes it's more fresh in our minds that way anyway. If there is, it'll have to move, right?
We could cancel it.
There's no policy, I mean, I'm sorry, is there a facilities meeting on the 11th?
If there is, we could cancel that too. Oh.
Okay. So February 11th.
So do we want to move that to the 4th too? Sure. don't really need it, right? Just
So
cancel
we
it.
could just, is it okay if we just cancel?
We'll ask Kelly, but
Okay.
I'm sure she'll be fine with it. All right. So since it's such a short turnaround, I'm thinking that we can just ask questions at both of those meetings instead of submitting the questions and having the district review them and come up with answers to everything in writing. So we'll do that on the 4th, if that's okay with you all. And then the next meeting after that will be on February 25th, and that at that meeting is when we could potentially approve the budget. And things will obviously maybe change, so they'll have more information for us at that meeting. And then from there, March 11th, we also have another meeting. Any questions on any of that? I know that's a lot. Do you want to add anything? Did I get it right?
No, I just, like you're saying, we may need, there's so many what ifs and the variables could change. Right now, insurance is coming in at 18% increase. We're thinking about, we're internally with the town, we're having a meeting to decide if we want to go out to bid. Cigna is saying that they will come in at a 9% increase, but if we go out to bid, then that's off the table. And speaking with the mayor, we're taking a risk, but we're going to have an internal meeting and figure out what we're going to do. But right now, Mr. Butwell has budgeted for that January 28th meeting. We have budgeted an 18% increase. So you're going to see some high numbers, you have voted on in the past by March a solid number. If we go out to bid, you won't be really voting on a solid number because it could take a couple months to get the real number. So this year is a little different.
An 8% increase. Not for overall budget.
No,
Just talking benefits.
in insurance, 9% is how they started at 18. They said they would go down to a 9% Cigna if we did not go out to bid. So we are now meeting with David Caslin, who's our insurance broker, and he works for the town and for all of us, right? So, but we have 60% of the staff, 66% of the staff. So 2/3 of the staff are Board of Ed, and 1/3 are the town. But we really have to make a decision together. Are we going to take a chance and go out to bid? Is there any more wiggle room with Cigna that they would go down lower? But the town has expressed interest in going out to bid, and that, of course, it's going to concern me because we're looking at comparable insurance. It doesn't mean exact, and I worry about people because people have their doctors and everything's set up.
How does that get decided? You have a say in it too, so you'll get together.
I'm about
with
to
them.
find out at our meeting. I'm sure the mayor and the town manager have the interest of the people in mind, as well as just a bottom line number. It's a tough one,
Are you happy with it? Are members happy with the quality of the insurance services?
So that's a great question. When I first came here from Middletown, I felt like it was the worst plan ever. I couldn't believe it because we were on the state plan, and I was like, oh my gosh, this plan is really terrible, especially for dental. And then you kind of get used to it, and we're blessed that we even have a plan, right? So with that being said, we do have people who see specific doctors that I get concerned about because I think about everything. That I'd be worried that what if we went to another company and they didn't cover those specific doctors and people who have long-term illnesses, because our policy says it's comparable. It doesn't have to be exact. And I worry. I also worry because you all know our HR, Michelle is benefits and HR, and it's just Lori and Michelle. So if we were to move to another, that's a ton of work. And with a one person show. I don't know. It's a tough call. Yeah, he does. He's pretty good to us, and he's like, he's afraid of Michelle and me because we just call him and give him a percentage, and then he calls us back and says, "Okay." He is. since I've been here, my understanding is that they went out to bid in 2019, and I came here and showed up to this plan that was like a high deductible HSA, and I was like, what the heck? This is terrible. But now everybody's moving to that. We were just ahead of the game. So I would say that our plan is pretty rich, our medical, compared to a lot of plans that are out there. Educators in general, we are lucky.
All right.
So I'll keep you posted.
Thank you. All right. Any comments, updates, or announcements from board members? Alicia? Do you have anything? No? Kelly? Catherine? Anyone? Alan? Matt? Nothing? All right. We do have an executive session. Is there a motion, right?
Yep. To
Okay.
invite Michelle.
We still do, right? Is there a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussion of the agreement between the Cromwell Board of Education and the CHCA District, the Nurses Union, July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2027? Is there a motion? I saw Alan, and then I heard Alicia. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? And I'll invite Dr. Macri and Michelle Demaro. Anyone else?